Welcome to Let's Watch. Today we will break down sci-fi thriller Trap. Be ready for spoilers ahead. The movie begins with Hopper, an archaeology professor, and his dog are looking for his family who disappeared after descending in a cave while looking for Fountain of Youth back in 1970s. He then notices there is a cave far in the distance. Upon the arrival at the entrance of the cave, he sees a cowboy man but don't seems to be from our generation, seemingly frozen in time. With the discovery, Hopper turns back and gets back home. Apparently, he had set up this exploration trip with his teaching assistant Taylor and Jackie. But after Hopper arrives at home, he tells them that the situation has changed and the professor decided to go back to the cave alone. As Hopper enters the cave, he discovers there is a layer that separates the atmosphere between the outside world and the cave. He decides to break through the layer and a cowboy man he found at the previous visit starts to move. It has been 2 days since the professor's departure. Until now, Taylor and Jackie haven't heard anything from him, so they decide to look for him. Because they don't have their own SUV, they call Kara, Taylor's crush, and ask her to borrow her dad's SUV. Apparently, Vivi's sister Kara also has a school project to do, so Kara decides to take her as well. They are also accompanied by Vive's friend Phoebe. The kids arrive and find Hopper's parents' van, where they discover that the professor all this time is seeking for his family at the cave and not some hippies from the 70s. They then find an old rope that leads them into a different part of the cave. There they find the rope had been cut off and learned that this is not Hopper's rope as it is already very old, and they also discover that the cave is very deep. The kids decides to descend further into the cave, leading Phoebe to keep a watch because he is too afraid to join them. While going down, Kara discovers the same invisible layer that Hoppers found earlier, claiming that it changes the air completely. They decide to break through the layer. Now Hopper, a moment later, after he follows the cowboy, then he starts to feel something strange. He notices a strange dance of light. It is as if someone is constantly dimming and brightening the entrance of the cave with a huge flash or something. After that, he suddenly hears a screaming voice and escapes from the cave. As we see previously, Hopper went into the cave when the sun was still shining, but after only less than 5 minutes inside, the outside world has become very different as his car's covered by overgrown plants and it is already 9. It just seems like a couple of minutes in the cave is equivalent to decades outside. He also finds Kara's SUV and Jackie's backpack, so he decides to go back into the cave. Back to the kids, as they begin to explore, they suddenly hear screaming voices and get the girls decide to leave from the cave, starting with Jackie. But the rope suddenly gets cut off and she falls off, injuring both Jackie and Taylor, who tries to save her. Taylor then pulls the second rope, finding that one to be cut off as well. The group begins to think that it is Phoebe who purposely cut the rope for messing around. They try to communicate with Phoebe from the radio, but he doesn't respond. Eventually, they hear some muffled sound from the radio asking for help, claiming that it is Phoebe. With no other option, the group decide to move further inside the cave, leaving the injured Jackie alone at the other side of the cave. The group discovers a cut-off rope and Phoebe's dead body with a broken neck. Then they replay the recording from Phoebe's camera to see what happened to him. Phoebe reveals from the Hopper's stat journal that the cave keeps magic water that heals people because Hopper's sister got sick. The family decided to go to the cave looking for the water. After spending several days outside the cave, Phoebe decides he is going to go in looking for his friend who is presumed dead for the car keys. While it is a whole day for him, the rest of the group only experience seconds inside the cave. As Phoebe enters, his rope gets cut, causing him to fall but doesn't die. He lies there unconscious for about an hour and wakes up to talk to Taylor, but suddenly a caveman attacks and kills him. Vivi's also spots something nonsense as the time code from the recording spanned several days while they only have been in the cave for an hour. Because both Taylor and Jackie are injured, only Kara and Vivi's are left to find a way out and call for help. Because Vivi's is younger, Kara decides to climb up the same way they came down and manages to come out to find a completely different place. Now there is no sign of vegetation in the area. Also feels weird, causing Kara to have difficulty breathing. She also spots a huge dust storm coming their way. She then discovers a massive triangle-shaped object in the sky. Unable to call for help, she goes back inside to the cave but is accused by others for not even trying to get help. She is being accused because only a couple of seconds have passed in the cave, while she has been out for 30 minutes. The group realizes that the time outside the cave is running faster than inside, causing the event inside the cave to move more slowly. Taylor also adds that the rope at the top of the cliffs are aging at a rapid rate, causing them to serve due to the friction with the cliffside. Because of that, Vivis rewatches the recording of Phoebe's footage, realizing that the sun passed through keep changing. She also reveals that the brightest summer and the darker winter, making one cycle of season seen in only about 1 second, which means an entire year passed by. So we can calculate and discover that approximately 5,400 years have been passed on the earth since they have been in the cave. When Kara attempts to climb on the cliff one more time, suddenly a very futuristic and high-tech ladder pops down into the cave along with a giant being covered in spacesuit. Out of nowhere, a caveman appears and brings to attack the giant man, but is subdued non-lethally. The group decides to run away to another part of the cave. There they find the dead bodies of the cowboy man and Hopper's parents. They are also confronted by 3 other cavemen. Taylor decides to fight the caveman but is killed brutally. All the girls flee to the other side of the cave and Kara comes back and finds his dead body. While crying over him, she is confronted by the alien giant. He picks up Taylor's body and drags into the pool of water. Magically, the water manages to bring back Taylor's to life. The caveman come back and attack the giant, knocking off his helmet, which exposes into the air. He is not able to breathe, even so, he still manages to capture all the cavemen. Before he dies, he shows the group several media clips about their disappearance and indicating that humans have begun to move to another planet in order to preserve humanity. At this point, the group realizes that there is no way back and they must decide whether they have to get out there or live there forever. But Taylor eventually finds a mortally injured Hopper in front of another thicker layer of wall. Continue Hopper's long missing sister and frozen folks from various eras who are fighting to seize the youth fountain. Hopper explains that the whole cave is a system which was designed to protect the fountain and each layer has a different speed, making the time in the deeper layer much slower than the previously. The group uses the water to heal the injured Jackie, but they are being attacked by the remaining cavemen. Since they have nowhere to go, they decide to use the high-tech ladder from the giant to climb outside of the cave. As they reach the cave mouth, they discover that the entrance has been filled by water. Kara tries to break through the layer but suddenly is yanked by a strange creature which turns out later to be further evolved human being. Moments later, a fully suited Kara returned to the cave followed by a high-tech rope to retrieve everyone from the cave including Phoebe, Hopper and Hopper's parents. At the end of the film, Phoebe, Hopper and his parents and sister all are brought back to life. They are now on the bigger spaceship that is headed towards the new Earth or whatever they are calling it. If you like this video, then do check out our channel for more similar videos and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.